Asterisk, asterisk. 3 knife wounds, a car crash, a suspicious drowning, and a mysterious drug overdose. 4 actors, 4 tragic deaths. All roads lead back to a single film, Rebel Without a Cause. This cult film of the 1,950 seconds, while telling the story of youth rebellion, transformed into a cursed legend. The stars of Rebel Without a Cause, James Dean, Sal Mineo, Natalie Wood, and Nick Adams, seemed as if something they witnessed on that film set had condemned them to death. Now, 70 years later, it's time to unravel this curse and piece together the missing fragments. Asterisk, asterisk. On a hot summer day in 1955, a young man walked through the back entrance of Warner Brothers Studios. 16-year-old Sal Mineo was arriving for an audition for the role of his life. Nicholas Ray's upcoming film Rebel Without a Cause had created tremendous excitement in Hollywood. Mineo had been introduced to James Dean the previous day and was filled with anticipation at the prospect of acting alongside this charismatic star. As he stepped into the studio, he noticed young Natalie Wood was also there. Natalie was 17, but already a recognized name in Hollywood as a child star. The two exchanged slightly shy greetings. While waiting for camera tests, Sal spotted James Dean smoking in the corner. At 24, Dean had already become a phenomenon with his performance in East of Eden that year. None of them could have known how that day would begin a journey that would forever bind them together. The set of Rebel Without a Cause would become the place where the lives of 4 talented young people intersected, and perhaps where the web of fate that would prepare all their endings began to be woven. Asterisk, asterisk. The echoing footsteps in the pale blue walls and corridors of Warner Brothers Studios in the mid-1950 seconds were the footsteps of perhaps Hollywood's most mysterious curse. But no one heard those sounds until it was far too late. Asterisk, asterisk. Nicholas Ray gathered the actors to shoot the first scene. James Dean would play Jim Stark, the film's protagonist, a rebellious youth misunderstood by his family. Natalie Wood was cast as Judy, a young girl seeking love but looking in all the wrong places. Sal Mineo would bring life to the character of Plato, a sensitive and fragile boy abandoned by his parents. The 4th main actor, Nick Adams, joined the group in the role of Chick. The film would create a revolution in American cinema, with its themes of youth rebellion and standing against societal norms. But behind the scenes, a complex web of relationships had already begun to form among these 4 young actors. James Dean showed special interest in Sal Mineo. According to set workers, Dean often gave Mineo acting lessons and had long conversations with him between scenes. In a later interview, Mineo would say, "Dean was as charismatic in real life as he was on screen. Working with him was one of the turning points in my life." Set employees recall that Dean frequently took Mineo under his wing and paid special attention to him. According to an assistant director's diary, there was a special bond between Dean and Mineo. They were both people who carried an inner rebellion against society's norms. Perhaps that's why they understood each other so well. Natalie Wood was enchanted by Dean's charisma. In her memoir years later, Wood's sister Lana wrote that Natalie had romantic feelings for Dean during that period, but Dean treated Wood more like a brother. Nick Adams, meanwhile, was in competition with Dean. One of the film's most memorable scenes took place in an abandoned mansion. The characters of Dean, Wood, and Mineo create a pretend family for one night. For Plato, this is the realization of his dream of having a family for the first time in his life. It's said that while filming the scene, Sal Mineo genuinely shed tears. experiencing real emotions beyond the script. Perhaps the absences in his own life caused him to deeply identify with the character of Plato. Asterisk, asterisk. Sometimes the camera captures reality more clearly than fiction. Every scene shot on the Rebel Without a Cause set was weaving the fates of these four actors more tightly together, as if an unseen hand had begun to control their lives. Asterisk, asterisk. As filming progressed, the dynamics behind the scenes deepened. Sal Mineo openly admired James Dean. In later years, it would be discussed that Sal's feelings went beyond admiration. Natalie Wood was enchanted by Dean's charisma. Nick Adams was in competition with Dean. Nicholas Ray closely observed his actors even off camera. Ray wasn't hesitant to use his actors' real-life tensions and emotional turmoil to make the film's theme of youth rebellion more authentic. Perhaps unknowingly, this intense emotional atmosphere was becoming an invisible thread binding the fates of the four actors. In the film's final scene, Plato Mineo is shot by the police. Jim Dean and Judy Wood mourn around their young friend's lifeless body. The atmosphere on set during this scene was so intense that even after filming ended, the actors struggled to break character. Perhaps this was like a rehearsal for the tragedies that would unfold in the future. Asterisk, asterisk. That night, after the set closed, the four actors gathered at Chateau Marmont. They raised their glasses in celebration of completing the most important film of their lives. None of them could have predicted that this film would become the first line of their obituaries. Asterisk, asterisk. Just 1 month after the film was completed, the first tragedy occurred. On the 30th of September 1955, James Dean was driving his newly purchased Porsche Spyder near the town of Cholame, California, when he was involved in a horrific traffic accident. Dean's car collided with a Ford driven by a student named Donald Turnipseed at an intersection. The force of the impact broke Dean's neck, and he died at the scene. He was only 24 years old. In the final months of his life, Dean's close friends had begged him to stay away from racetracks. Even respected Hollywood figures like Alec Guinness had told Dean upon seeing his Porsche, "If you get in that car, you'll be dead within a week." Dean smiled at these prophetic words and said, "Life should be lived fast." Just hours before his death, giving his fans who had taken photos at a gas station the advice to drive safely would remain one of the final ironies of his life. Rebel Without a Cause was released after Dean's death and instantly achieved cult status. Dean's death had added a mystical aura to the film. His rebellious character in the film contributed to the iconization of Dean, who had lived a short and rebellious life in reality. But no one knew this was just the beginning. Sal Mineo was deeply affected by Dean's death. He frequently mentioned Dean and his influence on him in interviews. Mineo was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in the film. His career was on the rise, but Dean's absence had wounded him deeply. Natalie Wood successfully continued her career. She starred in important films like Splendor in the Grass and West Side Story. Nick Adams began carving his own path by starring in the television series The Rebel. From the outside, it appeared that the three surviving stars of Rebel Without a Cause were successfully moving forward in their careers. But perhaps the curse was just waiting for the right time. Asterisk, asterisk. In the following years, as viewers of Rebel Without a Cause watched the film over and over, the real drama behind the scenes was slowly being revealed. Beneath Hollywood's bright lights, dark shadows were dancing. Asterisk, asterisk. By the late 1960 seconds, Sal Mineo's career had begun to decline. He was now too old to play young, innocent roles. but Hollywood was reluctant to give him different roles. More importantly, Mineo had begun to be more open about his sexual orientation. Being an openly gay man in Hollywood in the 1,960 seconds and 70 seconds meant the end of your career. Mineo turned to theater and began directing. On the night of the 12th of February, 1976, 37-year-old Sal Mineo was attacked with a knife in the parking garage while returning to his apartment in Los Angeles. That evening, he had been directing rehearsals for the play P.S. Your Cat is Dead and was returning home a bit later than usual. His neighbors reported hearing cries for help around 9:30 p.m. When they rushed outside, they found Mineo lying on the ground, covered in blood. The attacker had vanished into the shadows. When the ambulance arrived, Mineo was still alive, but the 3 deep stab wounds to his chest had damaged his vital organs. He died en route to the hospital. The 3 knife wounds to Mineo's chest ended his life. The attacker fled into the darkness and remained unfound for years after the murder. Though police assessed the murder as an attempted robbery, Mineo's close circle was skeptical. Mineo's openness about his homosexuality led to speculation that he might have been the victim of a hate crime. Eventually, in 1979, a criminal named Lionel Ray Williams confessed to killing Mineo during a random series of robberies. But this didn't satisfy some people in Hollywood. The second star of Rebel Without a Cause had also departed tragically. Asterisk. Stories that begin on a film set are destined to find their endings in real life as well. The heroes of Rebel Without a Cause were playing the leading roles in their own tragedies off-screen. Asterisk. Now is a great time to subscribe to our channel. This way, you can stay informed about our new videos on Hollywood's dark secrets and the tragic stories of unforgettable stars. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Asterisk. Nick Adams achieved some success in his career after Rebel Without a Cause. He became known for his role in the Rebel series and was known as a close friend of James Dean. While trying to establish himself in Hollywood's challenging world, Adams struggled with drug and alcohol problems. On the 26th of February 1968, at just 36 years old, he was found dead in his home in Los Angeles. According to the autopsy report, the cause of death was an overdose of prescription medications, although some sources suggested this was suicide. His family always denied this, arguing that he had accidentally overdosed. The third star of Rebel Without a Cause was no longer alive. And then it was Natalie Wood's turn. Wood was one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses. On the 29th of November 1981, 3-year-old Wood was on a yacht trip with her husband Robert Wagner and their friend Christopher Walken. That night, Wood fell from the boat and drowned. The details of the incident still remain mysterious. Wagner admitted that an argument had erupted between Wood and Walken. Questions about how Wood fell from the boat and why she couldn't be saved remained unanswered. The investigation was reopened in 2011, and in 2013, the autopsy report indicated that bruises on Wood's body might have formed before she fell. The cause of death was changed to drowning with undetermined factors. Thus, the last of the 4 stars of Rebel Without a Cause also departed with a tragic end. Natalie Wood, who had begun her career as a child star, continuously struggled against the image imposed by Hollywood. Wood, who started acting in Miracle on 34th Street at just 7 years old, had been practically forced into Hollywood by her mother. She tried to find her own identity amid the roles, clothes, and behaviors determined by the studio. Her 2 marriages to Robert Wagner were interpreted as her effort to find the stability she had always sought. Asterisk, asterisk. 4 actors. 4 tragic deaths. Coincidence? Or did Rebel Without a Cause truly have a curse? Asterisk, asterisk. Hollywood historians and film critics have debated the connections between these 4 deaths for years. While some argue it was entirely coincidental, others sought more mysterious explanations. Could director Nicholas Ray's use of real-life tensions and emotions during filming have created a psychological bond that affected the actors' careers? The rumors circulating on the set of Rebel Without a Cause, the special relationship between Dean and Mineo, Wood's interest in both male actors, and Adams' feeling of being left out may have created a drama beyond the film. This drama later echoed in each of their lives in different ways. James Dean's death deeply affected the other 3 actors. Mineo mourned the loss of Dean for a long time and strived to keep his legacy alive. Wood turned to more profound roles after Dean's death. Adams wanted to be recognized as Dean's friend, but also struggled to establish his own identity. Perhaps that was precisely what the curse was. Rebel Without a Cause had drawn these 4 young actors into such a deep emotional experience that even after the film ended, they could never fully escape its shadow. The film seeped into their real personalities and destinies. Asterisk, asterisk, in Rebel Without a Cause, the characters were rebelling against society's expectations. Perhaps the actors, too, lived out their own rebellions against Hollywood's ruthless system. And perhaps the price of this rebellion was each of their lives. Asterisk, asterisk. James Dean was known as a rebellious driving enthusiast who pushed boundaries. Natalie Wood, in her career that began as a child star, constantly fought against the image imposed by Hollywood. Sal Mineo showed the courage to live his sexual identity openly, defying the taboos of the time. Nick Adams strove not to remain in the shadow of the big stars. Each, in their own way, became a kind of rebel, just like the characters they portrayed in the film. And perhaps, just as in the film, this rebellion cost them dearly. In the final scene of Rebel Without a Cause, as Jim and Judy face Plato's death, they also face difficult truths about life. The film exposed the tragic consequences of youth rebellion and society's lack of understanding. In real life, the story of these 4 actors may carry a similar message. In Hollywood's glittering world, living your true identity and standing against the system's rules can cause you to pay heavy prices. Asterisk, asterisk. Looking back 70 years later, Rebel Without a Cause appears not just as a film, but as a prophecy where the fates of 4 talented young people were written. The story reflected on screen was lived out again and again in real life. Asterisk, asterisk. Today, the lives and deaths of James Dean, Sal Mineo, Natalie Wood, and Nick Adams continue to be one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. This phenomenon, called the Rebel Without a Cause curse, has secured a solid place in pop culture. The film was immortalized, not only in cinema, but also in the tragic destinies of these 4 actors. Perhaps the real curse was not the film itself, but Hollywood's ruthless nature. After tasting fame at a young age, getting lost in the system, losing your identity, struggling with addiction, these are parts of the fate shared not only by these 4 actors, but by many Hollywood stars. Or perhaps something truly did happen on that film set that we still don't fully understand. 4 young people became so deeply immersed in their characters that they continued to live out those characters' fates even after the film. In any case, the story of Rebel Without a Cause and its 4 stars reminds us of the dark shadows hidden beneath Hollywood's dazzling lights. And perhaps it shows us that the desire for rebellion and living an authentic life can sometimes come with heavy prices. James Dean, Sal Mineo, Natalie Wood, and Nick Adams. 4 stars, 4 tragedies, 1 film. The curse of Rebel Without a Cause continues to remain one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Asterisk, asterisk. Perhaps someday, we will completely unravel the invisible thread that binds the fates of these 4 unfortunate stars. Or perhaps some Hollywood mysteries should remain unsolved forever. Because perhaps legends that keep their mystery are more powerful than explained truths. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications for more content about Hollywood's unforgettable stars and dark secrets. In our next video, we'll explore another dark story from Hollywood. Asterisk.